This video is going to look at how to write a percentage as a fraction. So this is actually really easy because, as we know, percentages are just parts of 100. So to write a percentage as a fraction, all we need to do is write it as a fraction with the denominator of 100. So 29% can be written as a fraction of 100 as 29 over 100. 6% is the same as 6 over 100. 0.5%, 0.5 over 100. Now that doesn't look like a very nice fraction, but we're going to come back and we're going to simplify some of these at the moment. 200% is 200 out of 100. And 215% is 215 out of 100. Now, if you can't remember that, there's a nice clue in the percentage symbol, because if you look at the percent sign, the line through the middle with the two little circles actually kind of just looks like a 100 rearranged. So that's a clue to remind you that a percentage is a fraction out of 100. Now, one important thing to do when you have a fraction, is to write it in its most simplified form. So we can do that in two different ways. One way, if we don't have a calculator, is to look for the highest common factor in the numerator and the denominator. Now I'm going to leave this first one as 29 over 100 because it is fully simplified. Let's have a look at 6 over 100, and let's try and write that as a simple fraction. So if we look at the numbers 6 and 100, a common factor, a number that goes into both 6 and goes into 100, is 2. So if we divide each of these numbers by 2, we'll end up with a 3 on top, and we'll end up with 50 on the bottom. You can just check that 2 lots of 3 is 6, 2 lots of 50 is 100. With this next one, the problem with this is that when we have a fraction, we don't like to have decimal numbers in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and turn that into a fraction with whole numbers. So this 0.5, if we double it, we'll get 1 whole. If we double the bottom, we'll get 200. And that's now a simple fraction. With this next one, the number 100 goes into 200 and it also goes into 100. So let's divide the top and the bottom by 100. 100 goes into 200 twice, and it goes into 100 once. And this is a special type of fraction because we've got 1 on the bottom. We can simplify that to a whole number because 2 divided by 1 is just 2. And remember, fractions are just dividing. And finally, 215 over 100. Now I'm going to use another method to do this one. I'm going to use my scientific calculator. I could do it like I did the other ones and look for a common factor. But if we have a scientific calculator, we can save ourselves the trouble. We can just write it as a fraction. So fraction key, 215, move down, 100, just press the equals, and that will be simplified for you using a calculator, 43 over 20. And I could have done that with any of the other ones as well, even this one with the decimal in it. Now that we've done that, we're just going to look at a few more percentages that you should try and just memorize because they are really important and they come up quite a lot. So the first one is 50%, which we know is 50 over 100, or you might recognize that as 1/2. And we can see that because 50 is half of 100. 25%, you might realize that 25 is half of 50. We're going to get 25 over 100. And let's use the calculator again. We can see 25 over 100 is equivalent to the fraction 1/4. So that's a nice another one that's nice to remember because it's quite important as well. There's two more that I'd like you to try and remember. 75% or 75 over 100. That's like 1/2 plus 1/4 because we've got 50 plus 25 makes 75. So that's actually going to be 3/4. You can check that on your calculator if you like. And finally, 100% we know is 100 over 100. And if you have the same number on the numerator and the denominator, then that's just 1/2. So if you have 100% of something, you have all of it. So those 4 percentages, 50%, 25%, 75%, and 100%, are all really important ones to have ingrained in your brain and to try and remember what those fractions are, because they're really common and they come up quite a lot. So that's how we change percentages into fractions. We write it over 100 and then we simplify if possible.